A live look out in Israel. As we are learning, Israeli police are currently responding to a ramming and shooting attack. My producer Julianne got us some more information, so I wanted to share it with you. Reuters reporting one man was killed and another wounded in a suspected attack in northern Israel when a man rammed his vehicle into a bus stop in northern Israel, then stabbed another man and fired shots at passing motorists. This information coming from emergency services reporting that to Reuters. They go on to report a medical team at the scene pronounced the death of a man of around 70 years of age who was shot. The Israeli ambulance service confirming that in a statement. A second man who was wounded was taken to the hospital. As we were discussing this breaking news earlier this morning, we did share it with you. Israel's foreign minister and the EU high representative, they held a joint news conference. They discussed this alleged terrorist attack in the news conference. I want to play that for you now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll start with statements by Foreign Minister Gidon Saar and High Representative Kallas, and then we'll open it for questions. Please.
EU High Rep for Foreign Affairs Kaya Kallas, welcome to Jerusalem, DC, David's capital. I appreciate your visit and we appreciate your friendship. Last month you hosted me in Brussels and we renewed the important EU-Israel Association Council meeting. It was a chance to conduct a constructive and open dialogue. The European Union is Israel's largest trading partner and an important ally. We share a common history, partly painful, shared values, shared challenges, and shared interests. Sometimes there are also differences of opinion. That is okay. Israel is a strategic asset to Europe. We are now fighting the war of the free world. Iran, Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah attack us because we are nearby. But make no mistake, the war is against Western civilization, against its values and its ways of life. It is only natural for us to expect more support from Europe. We saw this morning the barbaric terror attack near Yokneam, which cost the life of a 75-year-old man. This is a result of the ongoing incitement in the Palestinian Authority. In our dangerous region, stability and de-radicalization cannot be attained through weakness. Only after ISIS was defeated on the battlefield did it stop drawing young Europeans to its ranks. It is not true that radical ideologies cannot be defeated. If terror and extremism are eradicated in the Middle East, it will make Europe safer. And if not, the opposite will be the case. For a week now, Israel has been operating against the Hamas terrorist state in Gaza. Israel agreed to U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff's proposals to extend the temporary ceasefire. But Hamas twice rejected them. They are still holding in cruel captivity 59 of our citizens as hostages. They left us no choice. The war can end tomorrow with releasing our hostages, the demilitarization of Gaza, and the withdrawal of the armed Hamas and Islamic Jihad forces from there. War is not an ideology. We would be happy, and we will be happy, to achieve our aims by diplomatic means. But if that is not possible, we have no choice but continuing our military efforts. Not achieving our war goals would have terrible consequences for Israel, for our security, and for the whole region. Israel is acting in accordance with international law. Article 70 of the first additional protocol of Geneva Convention requires aid when the civilian population is not adequately supplied. During the 42 days ceasefire, Israel allowed 25,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. According to Article 23 of the Fourth Geneva Convention, a side is not obliged to allow in aid if it is likely to assist the military or economic efforts of the enemy. Hamas used the goods to finance its activities, to restore its military capabilities, and to recruit new young terrorists. And as President Biden said on October 18, 2023, if Hamas diverts or steals the assistance, it will stop international community from being able to provide aid. It must be stated clearly, no country is obliged to facilitate a war against itself. Israel must not be held to a different standard. High Rep, Israel and EU share many challenges. Along with our American friends, we must unite against the axis of evil of Iran, the Houthis, Hamas and Hezbollah. I believe that what we began in Brussels can turn our challenges into opportunities. It can bring more stability and prosperity to Israel, to Europe, and to the free world.
Thank you. Foreign Minister, High Representative, please.
Thank you. For Minister Saar, dear Gideon, it is important to be in Israel today, although I wish it would be under different circumstances. Let me start by condemning yesterday's attacks on rabbi in France. There is no place for anti-Semitism in Europe. We met exactly one month ago after the EU-Israel Association Council in Brussels. And it is clear that we are very good partners. Israel is a very relevant trade and investment partner for the European Union and also a major player in growing tech sector. Unfortunately, my visit comes at a difficult time. The breakdown of ceasefire has caused appalling loss of life. This morning, I also met the families of the hostages, and always, listening to the stories is very, very hard. I again condemn strongly Hamas violence. It is never easy to meet the families who have lost their loved ones or to not know the fate of their loved ones for so many weeks in captivity. The EU stands in solidarity with Israel and its people following the horrible attacks on the 7th of October 2023. And I reiterate now what I said this morning. Resuming negotiations is the only feasible way to end the suffering on all sides. Violence feeds more violence. What we are witnessing now is a dangerous escalation. It is causing unbearable uncertainty for the hostages and their families, and it is likewise causing horror and death for the Palestinian people. Minister Saar, as I underlined when we met a month ago, the security of Israel is extremely important to the European Union. Israelis must be able to feel safe in their own homes. Israel has the right of self-defense against terror attacks, whether from Hamas, the Houthis, or Hezbollah. However, military actions must be proportionate. And Israeli strikes into Syria and Lebanon risk further escalation. The fundamental steps here are restating the ceasefire, ensuring the release of all hostages, and resuming the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza with the goal of a permanent ceasefire. The European Union can help, whether through restating our Rafah border crossing mission or providing more humanitarian assistance. We had a very frank discussion, and I thank you for this. It is hard to look forward when bombs fall, but we need to keep the hope alive. The EU welcomes the Arab plan for reconstruction of Gaza. I discussed yesterday in Cairo with Foreign Minister Abdel Lati and the Arab Islamic Ministerial Committee. More work needs to be done on issues such as cost sharing and the future of governance of Gaza, but we see it as a good basis moving forward. I also raised the EU's concerns regarding the situation in the West Bank. And finally, on Iran, we agree the immense threat Iran poses to the region and global stability. Iran is a threat also supporting Russia's war in Ukraine. Iran must never be allowed to acquire or build a nuclear weapon, and EU supports all diplomatic efforts to that effect. Foreign Minister Saar, dear Gideon, thank you again for hosting me today.
Thank you, High Representative. Questions, please. Reuters, please. The microphone will be handled.
I'm James Mackenzie from Reuters. A question to the Minister and then one to the High Representative. Minister, given the scale of the Israeli operation in Gaza at the moment, do you see Israeli troops being withdrawn anytime soon, or will Israel feel itself obliged to maintain a troop presence in Gaza and to take over distribution of the aid itself? And to the Vice President, given everything else that's going on in Europe, in Ukraine and so on, do you see Europe having the capacity and the, frankly, the political interest in taking a leading role in helping to shape the future of Gaza after the war?
If I understood the question, the answer is that we will have to make sure when we will renew facilitating that it will be done in a different way than it happened during the first 70 months of this war. I will not elaborate how, but in a way that will not empower Hamas, will not give him the opportunity to use it as a financial engine, and the financial engine is helping him in his military efforts, which is simply impossible from our point of view.
Yes, so our neighbors' problems today are our problems tomorrow, and therefore what is happening in Gaza is what is happening in Israel is very important to us. And of course, we see no role for Hamas in the future governance of Gaza. We definitely need to discuss how the governance of Gaza is foreseen, how the future is, and European Union is ready to participate in those discussions so that we would prevent these problems happening in the future. It is clear that European Union is supporting the fight with terrorism. Israel's security is very important to the European Union, but also the rights of Palestinians need to be respected. Thank you.
Thank you. Times of Israel, please.
Lisa Berman, Times of Israel. First question for the Foreign Minister. Are there discussions or any plans to impose a full military government in Gaza? Is that something that's coming up in conversations with the Americans this week? And for the High Representative, when you speak about what should happen in Gaza, you don't talk about Israeli victory, Hamas defeat. You say negotiations should start, violence causes more violence. Would those same principles apply to the war between Russia and Ukraine and Europe?
Well, the simple answer to your question is it was not decided yet by our cabinet.
Yes, the same principles apply. Russia has attacked brutally Ukraine, went to their territorial integrity, sovereignty of another state, and if they stop killing people in Ukraine, the war will stop, because the war is not on Russia's soil. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Next question, please. Haaretz, please.
Hi, Lisa Rozowski from Haaretz. I have a question for the High Representative and for the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So my first question is to you. Israel and specifically Minister Saar have a very strong negative stance regarding the interim government in Syria and Mr. Ashara. They warned the West and the EU not to be charmed by the jihadists in suits and are interested in Russian bases staying in Syria. What do you think of this stance, and what is your position regarding Israel's occupation of the buffer zone and the call to demilitarize Syria south of Damascus? And Minister Saar, yesterday 2 officials from your ministry were not able to answer at the Knesset whether they were consulted regarding the conference with the far-right parties, which is taking place this week in Jerusalem. There is a very serious outrage among the Jewish communities in Europe regarding this conference, yet you are taking part in it. Do you consider to withdraw?
No.
Okay, I have a longer answer. On your question on interim government in Syria, of course, our worry is the same. They say the right things. Will they do the right things? But we have discussed this in the European Union amongst all the member states, and our view is that we need a stable Syria. The Syrian people have suffered a lot. Syria is a very diverse country with different groups. So these need to be taken into the government to govern Gaza. Why we are moving ahead with lifting the sanctions is that in order to build Syria, I mean, the people need access to services. And if the people have access to services, the companies can, establish, have jobs, pay salaries. So the people also have hope. And if they have hope, then there are less clashes and less chaos, because they can see that there is future and you don't have to do this. And that is our approach right now. Yes, we are looking at this, step for step approach. We want to see, and we have the pressure on them to make also the right things, not only to say the right things. We are also constant contact with the Syrian civil society because they are giving us really fair and honest feedback. What is going on? So I think I think have this small opportunity window to get this on the right track, but and we need to use it because we don't really have other options. Thank you.
What Israel is doing in this regard, did you discuss it? Do you think? Do you have a position in that?
Yes, of course, we discussed this, Israel's actions, and we feel that these things are unnecessary because it is Syria is right now not attacking Israel, and that feeds more radicalization that is also against Israel, which we don't want to see, because, like I said, Israel's security is also very important to us.
Yes, please, over there. Yes.
Hi, Marissa Newman from Bloomberg. Question for the minister. How concerned is Israel about the Turkish military presence in Syria? And is there any expectation of a future military confrontation between Israel and Turkey on Syrian soil?
With regard to the first question, we would like to see the same worries in the international community, at least with the same standards with regard to Turkish presence in Syria. With regard to the second question, we don't want confrontation with the Turks in Syria or anywhere else.
Thank you. This press conference is now over. Thank you very much.
So that was the latest press conference from Israel's foreign minister and EU high rep. They held that joint news conference early this morning out in Jerusalem, and they did respond to that breaking news you see in that bottom right box, that ramming and shooting attack out in Israel. And then right above, giving you a live look at the skyline in Jerusalem.